Hello everyone, this is Untitled and welcome to another mod overview, this time on LightningCraft, a mod that adds a few machines, another dimension, a bunch of tools and armor sets, a bunch of other mod compatibilities, and yeah, quite a good mix of things. Definitely a mod that I am a fan of, that adds quite a lot of mixture of things, not in the same way as like a utility mod, but just something that adds a lot of everything. So yeah, let's get into it. I will be covering this over multiple parts, and I'll mostly be covering the latest version 1.12.2, not certain features back in around about 1.710, 1.8ish period. Since this is technically the sequel, LightningCraft 2, not the original, where things kind of differed a bit with a sky dimension kind of thing. Comparison to, say, in Underworld, like we have in the later version. Anyways, though, let's get into it. First off, I'll start with the tech aspects, and then I'll get to tools, dimension, and otherwise later. So you have two clubs, like so, and you use those to strike lightning either where you are or on the ground. And they have a very small amount of durability, this one a bit more than this one, but either way they are still pretty simple. From there you'll want to use that while probably standing in water to actually make something called electricium or something like that. And from there you will make this using this recipe when throwing these three on the ground. So chuck at least one of each on the ground and then get at least three of this, and then you'll probably want to make a plate, and then from there, besides making a bunch of different stuff, you'll probably want a energy cell, which like so, and then you obviously, as you can tell, you can either strike it down on here or do a bunch of other things like use redstone or Tesla support with a generator of some kind, and you can power it that way, which is a lot easier. You can also transfer it from RF or Tesla back to LE if you wish, but LE is mostly created by striking lightning on top of an air terminal. Air terminals you can make from many different resources, modded or vanilla. Obviously you need the following ores being compatible already, and plates will obviously exist matching that, and yeah, obviously if you haven't noticed, the frequency does determine how much actually is accepted. So obviously there's 70% here, 70% goes in here when struck. Otherwise though, we've got the lightning crusher, pretty simple, breaks down ores and other materials. And then the furnace, which does pretty much what you'd expect of furnace recipes. There's the lightning infusion table, which is sort of an alloy, sort of other crafting table type thing, which you can make special swords, electricium out of, and a bunch of other things like Skyfather as the other tier. Access to the portal, one of the portal blocks, and a bunch of other recipes as well. Otherwise, they're pretty simple. You pretty much just make them with what you expect of what you've learned so far, which is some things like plates and electricium. Otherwise, electricium is one of the few tiers you can make tools of either the kinetic or the electricium kind, with a multitude of options from a hammer to sort of standard, and armour that is pretty much above diamond in many ways, and the durabilities go up as you move along. Obviously having different stats as well, as you can tell, and just put the paper here just in case these auto repair themselves if I couldn't show them off. Otherwise though, besides getting the obvious of the basic machines up and running, getting Thunderstone for the lightning infusion table, you then can move on to accessing the portal, which would be Thunderstone and Demon Blood, which you get from these demon soldiers in the Nether. And then once you kill them, you either get your sword, their sword sometimes, demon blood, or blaze powder. Otherwise, you mostly can make the portal in a nether shape or in a simplistic 8 blocks shape, and then from there you go into the Underworld, which looks a bit like this, where there is obviously this structure in particular. At the very highest point of the dimension you can get ichor, which is used for Mystic, which is the highest tier. So yeah. Unlike the past versions of the mod though, there is a lightning guide, yes, but you can't actually access it. You used to be able to craft it, which was a book and a rod of some kind, but you can't actually craft this thing anymore, which gave you access to a bunch of information about each block, as well as if you went to the index, access recipes in the infusion table. But you can't actually access it in survival anymore. Otherwise, yeah, we'll just show you the Underworld dimension real quick and some of the structures. Besides the fact that you'll get the following, and let's set up for the portal. There's 3 structures in this dimension, with the loot, multitude of different creatures and mobs, as well as demon protection, which is pretty simple. Ores can easily be found in the Underworld, which allow for access of not only smelting, but obviously with Tinker's support you can, as well as getting a bit more for your ore output, crushing them into dust. There is also lanterns as well as the occasional tree for a bunch of other building options. You can find one like this that I usually sort of think of as like a fountain type thing, which has the following type loot, pretty simple. These usually have a guardian spawner underneath. There's also a tower with a bunch of spawners for skeletal guards, as well as the occasional chests with a multitude of medium tier like loot, as well as something like a Underworld electric cannon, which you can use once you defeat to acquire a cannon core, which you can use for a lightning cannon, and even upgraded version that you can use yourself. And then there's the final structure, which houses the ichor with a bunch of sort of medium to higher up loot, with obviously some ichor in the middle, and there is actually rampant TNT right underneath it to be careful of, that will activate right as you open the chest. Yeah, and it's a trap chest with a ton of cannons around that will make it really difficult to get into it. 17 ichor, which from there you can make Mystic, which you can make the highest tier of air terminal, armor, tools, and otherwise with it. in part 2 we'll cover some of the rest of these things, so like what they're like in action with the tools, armor, different swords, and anything else.